How do you cope with the fact that you failed? A person can be lazy, ignorant, or perfect. Since nobody is perfect, everyone must be either lazy or ignorant. When you fail at something, ask yourself if laziness or ignorance was to blame. If it was laziness, then make a better effort next time. If it was ignorance, then learn from the failure. We can't always know every detail of every situation, which means that mistakes born of ignorance, genuine ignorance, not the willful kind, are opportunities to learn. Similarly, mistakes born of laziness are opportunities to improve, allowing you to become either more adept or more efficient. Now, some people might claim that the above advice doesn't apply to every situation. I failed at lifting this 3,000-pound boulder. They might say, I wasn't lazy or ignorant. If they were making a good faith effort to move that giant rock, though, if they weren't just trying to think of exceptions, then either laziness or ignorance was to blame. Perhaps they didn't know their own strength, or perhaps they couldn't be bothered to set up a pulley system. Regardless of the circumstances, and regardless of actual fault, it's only when we accept or applaud either of those traits that we actually meet failure. As such, as long as you're always earnestly striving for perfection, you haven't failed. Redefine success. Exactly. The way I see it, there's two types of success: inward success and outward success. Inward success means living by your values, which is what really counts. Outward success is measured by how well you do in the outside world, which is obviously also important, and there's nothing wrong with it. The big problem with focusing on outward success is that you simply don't have control over everything. Example 1. You want to make the track team. You read all about training, ask for advice from the coach, and really push yourself in your workouts. But when you try out, you don't make the team. Did you fail? Example 2. You value working cooperatively. You did your best to work with a group of classmates on a project, but in the end it fell apart because some of the others didn't do their part. Did you fail? Example 3. You value working hard. Your goal was to make the best video ever on chord progressions. You worked hard and the video was decent. Did you fail? In my opinion, you didn't fail in any of the examples. You made a sincere effort to do what mattered to you. Sure, the world didn't give you exactly what you wanted, but you still succeeded because you acted in a way that was true to yourself. I don't. I literally had the biggest failure of my life so far recently, and I'm just ignoring it because I can't handle it. When I think about it, I feel like a disappointment to my parents, and it starts spiraling hard and fast. It makes me think of all the expectations everyone has for me, and how I can meet them, and how much easier it would be for me just to die. When you are dead, you don't have to worry about your future anymore, and it just looks so tempting sometimes. I haven't done anything and I won't, but I would be lying if I said I didn't hope sometimes that something would just kill me, because it would be so much easier. So now I don't cope with it, and I don't know how, so I just aggressively ignore it by playing games, and watching YouTube, and doing everything but that, even though I need to deal with it, and can't keep running, but running is the only thing keeping me okay right now. TLDR, I spent a long time as a failure, lead me to do some stupid shit, tried something new, and started keeping track of the things I succeeded at, learned how to be kind, and forgive myself when not perfect. I didn't cope for a long time, and that translated to every aspect of my life. What started as failing as a daughter, it took a very long time to realize that wasn't my failure, but my mother's. There is a lot to that story though, so not going into it, turned into failing at school, and then failing at a different school. That turned into failing at home, until it consumed me into believing I was failing at existing. I don't know how many nights I cried myself to sleep after writing a note, and failing at carrying that through as well. Then, I tried something new. Instead of forcing myself to continue education, when I was clearly burnt out, I started working. Actually, I was pretty good at it, and then I got better at it, until I was really good at my job. I started to socialize again. I started to smile more, and I realized that I wasn't failing at existing, that I didn't wreck everything I touched, and so I applied for my dream job. I got it. And then I lost it, because the company went under, but I got it, and that saw me through, until I got another job. problems did start piling up a little bit, and I felt like I was failing again, which led to a hospital visit, mainly to check the allergic reaction was abating. Turns out I'm fairly allergic to large quantities of certain painkillers, and a referral to mental health services. Sometimes I still struggle with feeling like a failure, but I'm better at not letting that voice be the loudest. I made a book to keep note of my little achievements and lists of what I've done during the day. Most importantly, I learned to be kind to myself and that it's okay to not be perfect. Take it as an opportunity to learn. You learn a lot more from failure than from success. I disagree with this. Obviously you should learn from failures or you are bound to repeat them, but success is a much better teacher. Sure, there's more than one way to make pancakes, but there's a hell of a lot more ways to fail at making pancakes. You'll learn way more making even marginally successful pancakes than you will trying things that fail to make pancakes. Don't steer away from failure, steer towards success. I have a shirt with a saying from Dinosaur Comics on it. Failure is just success rounded down. Oh well, failure isn't just necessary, but is vital to learning and growing. The greatest obstacle to my learning and expanding as an individual is not failure, but fear of it. Of course I'm going to fail. The only way to get good at things is to suck at them first. Whether that's writing, or drawing, or playing the piano, or more important things like getting a job or gainful employment or a career, failure is a required part of the process. I've come to realize that the idea of failure that society provides isn't an accurate representation of reality. The notion that you failed comes with the prerequisite of finality, but as long as you're alive nothing is final. We tend to think that if we fall off the horse, that all is lost, when in reality, it's just part of the natural progression of life. What we often don't realize is that the illusion of failure feels like a safe place to hide from being disappointed again. The thing is, it's not. Making yourself vulnerable to the possibility of being disappointed is hard, but never letting yourself be vulnerable will ultimately leave you with the same results you were afraid of to begin with. It drags me down constantly. I see the people in my class that are doing way better than me and it hurts. I see rich people and get angry. I see better behaved kids than mine, and I feel depressed. I see people with better spouses than mine, and it makes me jealous. I see better people than me, and it makes me hate myself. Then I go about my day the best I can, because what else can I do? I just get to keep trying. I can't give up. Too many people are counting on me. Maybe one day I'll get there. Maybe I never will. But I can't give up trying. Took a while, about 2 years, at a certain point in my career, when I had stagnated. Bosses did not like me. I was angry, sad, and depressed. Then I reflected on how far I'd come, from poverty to middle class. Sure, I wasn't the top, but I wasn't still earning minimum wage. Sorry, nothing wrong with earning minimum wage, and some people I respected my work, and I thought I did good work. And maybe work isn't all there is to life, so having a few friends and a job I mostly liked, and living in a good place, and being able to hike and go outdoors was maybe good enough. This was in my 30s to 40s. I could have stayed at that place and been happy for the rest of my working life. As it turned out, I decided, hey, if the bosses don't like me here, there's nothing keeping me here. If I suck at my job, why not go somewhere and suck at a place that has a better work culture? So I did. Met great people, got some promotions, worked on my own behavior, and tried to continue to improve myself, but always kept that sense of gratefulness for where I'm no matter what. Retired now. If I had to relive a certain scenario, I'd probably make the same decisions. If I failed, I didn't have enough knowledge, energy, emotional investment, or whatever. If I would do the same thing again, can I be that mad at myself for it? But those scenarios help give me perspective on how and why I need to gain knowledge, energy, and emotional investment. So I kinda need to fail. That way I can know when it's okay to fail, because something's not worth it, or when something is important to me. The thing I'm best at, overthink it. Figure out every detail about it. When did this go off course? Was that visible at the time it got derailed? In 95% of cases it wasn't. What can be changed for it to not happen again? Who is actually to blame for it? etc, etc. This usually helps me understand that it wasn't my fault, or if it was, how I can avoid it. After overthinking it, I'm usually at the point where I know this won't happen again. I feel like I have grown a little from it, so even the failure was a little success. You get up and try again. Of course, it depends on whether you tried to throw a bottle and land on a cap or quit your job and start a business. But if it's along the lines of the latter, the failure will progressively eat you from the inside more and more. It's a suicide. Get up, try again, fail 10 times, but do it until you get it. Most people's lives are pointless anyway, so go for the wildest dream/vision you have. If you are honest with yourself and have the mental strength needed to endure the process, you will get it. In the worst case, you won't have to think what if. You risked, and even if it didn't work out, it's so much better than compromising and living a mediocre life. In short, you don't cope. You get up and try again. I comb through random comments on the internet to find others who have also failed in some big way. Yeah, I'm alone in life and lonely as fuck. Then, I try to find the ones who somehow turn things around for the better, at least to some degree, in an effort to grasp at the chance to feel a little more hopeful about my own shit show of a life. Whenever that doesn't work, at least I wind up realizing that I'm not the only one who has wasted a lot of potential, made some awful decisions, and also had some significant streaks of very bad luck. I know, it isn't much, but I'm trying to stay alive for my animals. I typically spiral into a well of darkness and despair and stay on some comfortable surface alone and unmoving, in silence, internally beating the living crap out of myself that I failed over and over and over again, because there's no one else to rub in the fact that I failed, and I will always fail. Then I get a headache and find that the day is already over, so I drag myself into the shower for round 2, where I continue to assault my mind with thoughts of ultimately quitting life, because I might as well, since I'm such a failure. I forget to eat, or I deprive myself of food, I'm never sure which. Then I try to go to bed, which I fail at too. So I just lay there, like a corpse, trying to cry, which is hard when you haven't beaten yourself up enough. But usually, someone in my family notices I'm being very quiet and still, and unwilling to do anything, and calls me lazy, and tells me to get up and do the laundry. That sometimes saves me from it all, because I get mad that I'm being made to do everyone's laundry instead of totally depressed, and also I'm doing something to distract myself from said depression. Though, I really miss when someone in my family notices I'm being very quiet and still, and unwilling to do anything, and recognizes that I'm not well. So they try to make it better by staying near me to do their own things, or offering me food, tea, or conversation. Yeah, I miss that. It reminds me that I might have failed, but I'm not a total failure. I'm just way too hard on myself. But it's usually the first thing. Depends on the failure. Mr. Minor deadline? Apologize and get to work. Mr. Major deadline? Outline a plan of attack to show how you'll get back on track. Flunked out of school? Figure out what the problem is, medical, personal, whatever, and work towards improving that situation. Then look into fields you feel better suited towards. Got fired? Learn what you did wrong and improve yourself, and be honest with your next potential employer. It's better to tell them up front that you were fired, but you learned this from it, and you're ready to work, than it is for them to call that job and have them give you a bad recommendation. Cheated on your partner? If they take you back, get individual and couples therapy so you can work through gaining trust in a structured environment. Something more serious? Accept the consequences and do what's right. The bottom line is, you can always go up from failure. Reflect on what you've done and why you failed. Apologize to whoever you need to apologize to, but remember, meaningless apologies are worthless and the person doesn't have to accept the apology no matter what. Outline how you'll do better in the future. Work towards improvement. We all fail in life, but wallowing in that and simply saying I'm a failure and can never get past this is not the move. Do better, be better, become better. We learn more from our failures than our successes. Making mistakes is all part of the learning process. A lot of people think that success comes down to luck, and often it does, but success gets you to the point where luck can find you. It's also important to understand your own current limitations. Maybe you can never do this, or maybe you can get better. What are you willing to invest in order to be better? Failure or success is a temporary situation, not permanent. It can and will all change many times. You don't fail if you have another plan. I'm in high school RN, and I failed my academic math course. Pretty much there's 3 levels to each course, academic being the highest. I ended up failing and didn't get my credit, but I was given a chance to take a math test, but 1 level lower, so I can at least get a math credit. I ended up passing the test and received the credit, so I'm back on track. I know this isn't a huge deal, but if you failed something, try to find another way you can fix something. Originally, by having a teary-eyed, snot-nosed meltdown, I perceived there were a lot of unspoken expectations on me, and by me failing, I failed all the people who were counting on me. After 3 years of therapy and some personal growth, I've realized my failures don't define me as a person, and I can get up and keep moving forward as long as I'm honest with myself about what went wrong and what I can do better. By the fact that many times I can try again. I mean, shoot, if I got upset that I failed, I would never get a job or finish Savage content in FF14 or many other things. Failure is many times just the process of learning. What did I do wrong in the fight? Could I format my resume and reword the same information for greater success? Yeah, it requires analyzing what went wrong, and that isn't always clear, but you got plenty more failures to help figure it out. And really, oftentimes you have as many failures as you need, and you need only 1 success. You pick up again and keep trying, or shift directions, and try something new, or take a break. There's nothing inherently wrong with failure, because you can almost always try again later. Sometimes, your best won't be good enough, and that's perfectly okay because it happens. Sometimes you need help, just didn't have your head in the game, or whatever. Some things are just trial and error. Tomorrow is another chance to get up and try again, or try something else, or build up for another try later. Failure is either the end of the process or part of the process, and that decision is up to you. Too many people praise talent rather than hard work and the failures that are involved. When I feel more conspiratorial, I swear it's on purpose. If your competition believes you are innately better than them, that you were born this way, they won't put in the work to become better, so they have every reason to tell you their success was talent-based, not the boring practical answer of constant small failures. Always learn from your failures. Long as you get something out of it, you just had a learning experience. Figure out why you failed, what you could have done better, and what you are lacking. That way you move another step forward into being successful. One of my favorite quotes from Mark Cuban: "I've learned that it doesn't matter how many times you failed. You only have to be right once." I tried to sell powdered milk. I was an idiot lots of times, and I learned from them all. You never fail. When I was in prison and lost everything, I thought I failed. Things looked bleak when I was released, but I kept kicking ass, busting my ass off, networking, and eventually it brought me to where I'm at, a government employee who has 3 category B felonies. I got the job because of great references of bosses that became friends, but I thought I failed at life and lost everything. It was just harder, but I never gave up. There's a beautiful analogy I found somewhere. The problem with success is you don't know how many times you have to fail to get it. If someone told you, if you dug 500 holes you'd find treasure, you'd be thrilled when you got to the 400th empty one. It's not failure until you give up. That said, be smart about what your goals are and how you go about achieving it. I keep going. And just as everything in life, success and failure is subjective. My old boss used to say, success is happiness and freedom. And if you can find happiness within yourself, that is a success. There are so many people in the world that have it much worse than you.